Hi. So, welcome again to those who just joined, and please do introduce yourselves in the chat when you have a moment. But first, I'd like to invite you to join me in giving your full attention to Elder Yvonne Rigsby Jones. Yvonne is Snuneymuxw First Nation, Coast Salish. She leads the Community Capacity Building Program as Elder. Yvonne has dedicated 29 years to leading Sautan Lelum Treatment Center, retiring in June 2015. And over her career, she developed treatment practices such as residential school trauma healing while participating in regional and national committees. She's an ambassador for Reconciliation Canada and a member of the Governing Council for the MSW Indigenous Trauma and Resiliency Program at the University of Toronto. Yvonne understands traditional practices and ceremony are the way home for many of our wounded people. She has listened, encouraged, challenged, and led. She believes in compassion because compassion works. Elder Yvonne, would you do us the honor of starting us off this afternoon?
Shante. Further to what's just been shared about me, I'll add that I'll start by saying I acknowledge my ancestral lands as Nanaimuk, where I live, work, and play, also known as Nanaimo. And further to what's been shared about me, I'm a mixed blessing. My dad, Dave, was the first generation born in this country. My other grandparents came from England on a ship. So I have the gifts of growing up in two worlds, and it served me well. I've learned that it's brought a good understanding to my work and my life. So that's a big part of who I am as well. And it's been an interesting life. So I'll start us off by offering a blessing and ask that, and I'll offer it in the way I've been taught, and just ask that you join in a way that you're comfortable, that feels okay for you, or not. So, Creator, grandmothers and grandfathers, I thank you for this day. I thank each and every one of you who has joined us, and thank the brave souls who are willing to present today to us and know that they're enriching us with their knowledge and skill. And I ask too at this time that we walk gently on the earth together, cautiously at this time of uncertainty with what we're living with the changes, COVID, that our world started to open and now it's starting to close again. And we would be respectful as always of each other and be sensible and true to ourselves and our families and friends, that we do what's right for our own selves. We ask Creator that you surround ourselves and our families with light and love and keep us safe from harm. And I ask for your blessings for the work that's about to happen today. That I also raise my hand in acknowledgement of the work of Simon Fraser University, that they will acknowledge that they are a work, that their work is a living act of reconciliation, that they don't just do land acknowledgements on their letterhead, that they truly do live and breathe reconciliation. Having me here today is a true act of practice of they invite my knowledge and skills into class, the history and pieces that I can bring to the work. They invite indigenous teachings to the work that they do. they don't just tokenize the work. And I add that because that isn't so in many large institutions, and I acknowledge them today for making reconciliation a living, breathing part of their organization. And I raise my hands to them for that. All my relations. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Yeah, thank you. I really want to honor your words. For those who I don't know, my name is Shanti Besso. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm joining you today with deep gratitude from the unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And I'm the lucky director of a group of programs that are broadly focused on leadership and community building and lifelong learning at SFU. I'm very proud to work with the team that is leading the Community Capacity Building Certificate, or CCB as we call it, and I'm thrilled to welcome you all on behalf of the convening partners this afternoon, Lifelong Learning, and our co-conspirator, SFU Public Square. I just have a couple of important housekeeping notes and then I'm gonna get out of your way. Yeah, I see a note in the chat. I was just trying to chat directly with Seth about this, but around the closed captioning, we're supposed to have a live transcript, but I was getting the same messages some other folks were getting. So can we work on that in the background, or should I pause? Oh, there, it just says enabled. Now can people access it? Live transcript, still saying, oh, it's working on mobile. Okay, I am going to, and there's a link. Okay, so live transcript is available in the link that Seth just posted in the chat, and it seems like it's working for some folks, maybe not for others, so that link should work for you. And thank you so much to folks at AI Media who are making that happen for us today. I'd also like to draw your attention to our community guidelines, which I think is the next slide. You can review them yourself, but very quickly, there will be no tolerance for anybody inciting violence. Thoughtful questions are always welcomed. Just use the chat. Please don't assume someone's gender or pronouns, and please follow the principle of step up or step back, and please take care of yourselves. Two more important notes from me. The first is that I'd really like to express our deep appreciation to the funder for this event, the David and Cecilia Ting Endowment for Education for Public Responsibility, which is a mouthful, but the sincerest thanks to the Ting family. And I'd also really like to thank the province of British Columbia for the funding support for the entire program. Our partners at the province have been so supportive and generous with this slightly unusual program, wonderfully unusual program. The second is what I think is some really important grounding context, which is that SFU's president, Joy Johnson, has articulated 3 core priorities for us as an institution. And the sort of shorthand version is students, reconciliation, and equity. And we have a really long way to go, but there's also some really important and meaningful work that's happening in lots of different ways across the institution. I may be biased, but I really believe that the CCB and the space that Elder Yvonne and the instructors, and most importantly, the learners have created together is just the most beautiful enactment of all 3 of those core priorities altogether. And I'm so grateful and excited to learn with you all here this afternoon. That's enough from me. I'm so happy to leave you in the very good hands of my dear friend and colleague, Vanessa Richards, who is one of the lead instructors and facilitators for the CCB program. Vanessa holds a wealth of experience as an interdisciplinary artist and engagement facilitator, and her passion for communities and culture supports socially engaged projects that uplift the art of city building and people power. And we're honored to have her with us today. Vanessa, over to you.
Thank you for the invitation. And thank you everybody who's feeling comfortable at this time to put your cameras on. I know for myself, personally speaking, I like to scan the screen and just watch how things drop, especially when I'm not speaking, but watching people listening is something I've become very fond of in these last couple of years, which I suppose we could say has been the worst of times and the best of times, to quote Dickens in this Tale of Two Cities, and some of what we're trying to do in CCB, Community Capacity Building Certificate, is start to massage the worst and the best so that we might have a tale of one people and one place together. I want to extend my greetings. I just saw one of our alumni, Desmond Williams. I'm so happy to be with you here. And I saw Perpetua as well, who's coming in for cohort 3. My name is Vanessa Richards. I was born here on these territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. When my mother, Adelheid Patzak, came in the arms of her mother, Irma Patzak, from Vienna, because there was the Second War in Europe starting and her family was half Jewish. And my father is Rudolph Richards, who came to the University of British Columbia as, most easily to say, a folkloric dancer who then pursued an education in education, became a high school teacher. And I was raised here with 2 brothers, Adrian and Christopher. And they're part of the reason why I do this work in the world. The other ancestors I just want to bring into the room are DOA and punk rock, and what happened to me when I saw how music could be a force for social change. I loved what punk rock was about. I didn't love the style as much as I loved the what they were talking about, but I liked the freedom of that too. And I wanted to, really just have this opportunity and what we do today to share some of the ways that we're thinking about the role of the arts and creativity, the individual and the collective and the social creativity as we do this work together, as we reimagine and hone the society we want to be in. The Community Capacity Building course was lovingly created in 2013, and it ran to create opportunities, connection, and to create a support system for a change lens, a way to look together as a community of people committed to communities. Starting in the spring of 2019, our colleague Laura Cuthbert and others in Shanti's department started to get together and look over that existing curriculum from 7 years earlier and thought about bringing it back into the curriculum. And so they invited different people from around the communities that they wanted to serve, to put their voices into it so that we could start to develop something that would be useful and timely and wanted, something meaningful and something affirming. And with these many voices and these many thoughts and intentions and blessings, this course was updated. And those 20 voices turned into the next 75 voices of our first 2 cohorts. And we're so thankful for those of you that are with us and those of you that are off screen right now, because what I think we've done for the 3rd cohort and what we hope to be doing with them is because of your contribution in these last programs that we ran. And in those last 2 programs, we had people from across Turtle Island, as well as from Ecuador and Chile. And we had just the most wonderful opportunity to make the world feel small and fit on a computer screen. So that was a significant opportunity to see where we have differences and where we have commonalities and what the value of each of those could be. One of our learners said in the feedback that we had that we've been reviewing as we prepare our new course, that to them, community ideally often feels and means home, where we are held accountable with love and where we get fed with love. And I thought in preparing for this time with you today that that might be a good place for us to think about where we make home and how we hold each other in that process. How we hold each other accountable, and how we can be cheerleaders for each other. And accountable doesn't mean like, oh, I'm in trouble. It can be like, yeah, I believe in you. I think you got this. Ah, what do you need? Oh, I see you've been paying attention to what people want to do, what people have the capacity for. And by capacity, let me break that down a bit. I think of capacity as, let me see my notes here. I think about it as and myself and my team here, I think we could agree that one of the ways our facilitation team thinks about the word is how we all might be more comfortable, more confident, and uncomfortable in being careful, caring a lot. How to care for many and how to care for yourself. how to take things personally and not take things personally. Careful in doing the things we and the learners want to generate or support. So you'll know that language is a moving, shifting train all the time, and so we like to talk about it in our processes, and you'll hear that in some of the 5 presentations that you'll hear today as well. I'm hoping you'll find it's language that's enlivening for you. And my invitation is that you keep listening with an open mind and an open heart. And as you have questions or queries, you can write it down in the chat. You can write it down as a note to yourself and then send it to us later as a question. It would be a real act of solidarity if you did this deep listening and then had reflections and questions to show back to the learners at this time that they've been doing, to prepare for you that what they've said has landed, especially if you have feedback that might help them do what they want to do more fulsomely. So we thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you so much. And so just quickly, you should know, thank you, that's my timer. That is now on pause. So we met for 6 months. We met twice a week for 3 hours at a time. And so that's 6 hours a week, as well as learners had the opportunity to meet offline with the facilitation team and each other and, sit with their thinking. So as we come into this presentation today, which I know you're going to find heartening, it's going to make you feel like this might be part of the best of times. I want to acknowledge today is the 50th anniversary of John Lennon's album Imagine and that song. And for those of you that didn't grow up with that song, I wanted to, Seth, if you could, or Amanda, if you could get ready to press that in a moment, please, and put the lyrics up for us. When I heard about this on the radio today, I thought, it's interesting how a song that was so radical at one point becomes blasé at other points, and how we sit with the radical and become blasé, or maybe we become cynical, or maybe we have all these different complex feelings. Maybe we still want to cry a little when we hear this song. And I thought on the 50th anniversary of this song, the relevancy of it, and also as a way of bringing us into feeling these projects that are being presented to you today with the kind of long arc of change and hopes for peace and solidarity between struggles and solidarity and love. Amanda, if you could play that track and put the lyrics up if you want to sing on your side of the screen, we'll just arrive like that, and then we'll come to hearing the first presentation from Sarah Common. Yeah, so Lennon's talking politics. It's talking about food security. He's talking about family. And we also see how language has changed. And this year we wouldn't say brotherhood of man, but we can listen to him there and know what he means. And so this is the kind of open intelligence that we're inviting all of our learners to share with each other and with the facilitation team. I think I've done some of my best learning of my life from Sarah Common, from Romila, from the people that you'll see today. And I just want to also bring your attention to notice how you felt when you heard that song. If you want to put it in the chat, we'll just take the last few seconds to tap into how you feel in your body. If you feel an opening, or if there's sweat on your hands. Maybe you feel wistful. Maybe you feel furious because, hold on a minute, that song's 50 years old and it hasn't happened yet. What are you noticing? So thank you, those that have put the feeling into the chat. We'll just be quiet for a few moments while we let a few more voices come into the chat, and then you can also look at this chat while I'm in silencio. Yeah, all of that is true. That shows up in the chat. And for me, what I also hear is the long game. It's a long arc. So with that, my friends, I'm going to introduce you to some thinkers and people that I think are going to make you feel like, whoa, we are making headway. One of the things that we like to do in our sessions is remind ourselves of the practices of paying attention to what has actually changed and shifted, the developments that we are making. Let me tell you a little bit about Sarah Common, who's a community support worker, a beekeeper, an executive director and co-founder of Hives for Humanity. She's passionate about fostering vibrant, healthy community through empowerment of living experience, in connection to the land and with reciprocity in relationship. Reciprocity. Sarah's presentation will highlight the Garden of Care. This initiative is, Sarah will highlight the Garden of Care. She's also going to talk about a proposed community land trust at Hastings Park. Oh, let me start that again. Sarah's presentation will highlight the Garden of Care initiative, a proposed community land trust at Hastings Folk Garden in the downtown east side, which is right between Insight and the old Smiling Buddha, speaking of politics and power through arts. This vision includes resisting development and the holding of land as a community-governed green space through work of inclusion, love, and dignity, honoring all ways of knowing and all ways of being. If you'd please welcome Sarah Common.
Thanks, Vanessa, especially for the irresistible bee puns there. Always appreciating those. And thanks, Yvonne, for welcoming us in such a good way too this morning or this afternoon. Yes, I'm Sarah, and I'm really proud to be here, and also proud to know that some of the community members who I'm working alongside in this work are here in the room, Jim and Ali and Teresa, Finn and Paula, as well as the learners from community capacity building to the cohort I was in, who I'm so encouraged by your presence and happy to be presenting alongside you. I think for me, some of the deepest learnings were from stories that you shared in the class around personal experience, shared with vulnerability in that brave space, and that through that work of accountability becomes so possible. So gratitude really to everyone here. So the project I focused on, and which really is at the heart of the work of Hives for Humanity, is this Hastings Folk Garden right beside Insight on the 100 block of East Hastings in the downtown east side of what we call Vancouver, the unceded stolen land of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh that I'm living in and presenting from today, and doing this work of deepening reciprocity and about thinking about land relations on. And I have some pressed elderflower and foxglove here to start sharing some of what grows in our garden, some of the plants that offer us medicine and hope in this work of equity in practice, which to me really means this thing of being in community, this thing of sharing our creativity, this practice of bringing our whole selves into spaces. And I'm really going to work to do that today in this presentation, including sharing some gifts at the end from my own personal practice of creativity. So on the left here is the Hastings Folk Garden, and you can hopefully see some beekeepers in there behind the feverfew and the mint, the elderberry, the fireweed, all of the plants that we grow there for the bees, for the people, for medicine, for food, and for this work of bringing this connection to the land and to what was here before Vancouver, to Kemkamele, the place where the maples grow, as the Squamish call it. And thinking about how through this garden we can take meaningful actions and be a commitment to land back, understanding what that means to each of us, understanding how we can fight for that, and really be in deep listening around the Indigenous leadership in our communities that is asking for that. So how do we do that in this complicated space, in this tiny lot on the 100 block of East Hastings, in concurrent crises that are overlapping and ongoing of housing policy, of drug policy, as well as the current pandemic, as well as all of the grief that we're working to hold together, which Yvonne, you were sharing so beautifully about meaningful actions that we can be taking and how to be in that practice. Also knowing that joy is possible in that space, and that when I'm in this garden, I feel joy. And I feel that joy when I look at these faces of some of our community leaders in this garden. Jim on the left here holding a frame of honeybees, and DJ on the right holding a bouquet of roses that we grew together. And really the work of leadership and of learning, I think, is to be in listening, to be listening to community, to be listening to the people with the experiences that are most impacted by these systems of oppression, of exclusion, of poverty, of violence, the colonial systems that we're working to dismantle through this work as we move through change towards justice. And when I look at Jim's smile there, and when I work alongside Jim and the bees, I know that that joy is real, and I know that my hope is grounded when I'm in relationship, when I'm feet on the land, and when I'm really feeling the bees buzzing, and when I'm stepping back to make room for people to come in and listen to Jim and have him share his skills and how the bees communicate. And when DJ brings friends from community, when she brings friends from the Downtown Eastside Women's Center or from the Carnegie, when she brings Indigenous women and their families into this space, I know that we're making this space safer together. And then I know that we can be, through this community leadership, governing a space and fighting for this space and resisting the development of this space that's right in the heart of so much development in our city, and that we can be fighting together in that grounded relationship of trust and respect with the plants and the pollinators, that we can be resisting the development of this space and coming together to advocate for it, for what it offers in the community, the medicine of the land. I wanted to share a bit about who I am in this, and this is part of the practice that has been really central to community capacity building for me, which is thinking about when I'm at the center, spotlighted in this presentation, and when I move out of the center into more of a witness role, where I'm in deep listening, where I'm in support role. Also knowing that sometimes I need to ask for help and I need to move in the center, and sometimes I need to share my creativity. And what helps me understand that and helps me understand how to move between those two places in a good way is to think about and be learning about where I've come from to be here, which is from Northern Ireland. This is my great-grandmother, Sarah, my namesake, Sarah, on the far left in all of her finery. And I only saw this picture and met this person this past year. So this is a new friend, a new ancestor to me. And I've been able to do this through helping to transcribe the memoirs of my father, my father's father, who is here on the left on this cart, this wheel cart with the donkey and the dog, also in Northern Ireland. And thinking about how that connects to me and how these people, my grandfather and my great-grandmother, who I didn't know, but how I feel I now know them through this work of listening to their stories and seeing their photos, so that when I'm here on the far right under this willow tree in practice and community, listening to this tree and listening to myself, I know that I'm pulling forward lessons, and I'm really trying to acknowledge where I come from, that allows me to be in this community and to be doing this work and to be working alongside people like Jim and DJ. And what I want to do is be a good guest. And I think as good guests, what we can do is share our unique gifts and recognize the unique gifts of others and really hold people up in sharing their gifts. This was a Polaroid. A visitor came to the garden and was taking Polaroid portraits of our gardeners and gifted us this one of our garden. And as a guest, I also want to be in a practice of deep listening. And this is Jim and Kate on the right here, listening to the cedar that we planted a few years ago at the folk garden, beside the sweat lodge, across from the therapeutic apiary, up from the medicinal pollinator and plant beds. And really listening to that cedar and thinking and feeling into the connection between this lot in the heart of the city out to frontline communities and deeper ancient forests on our coasts and in our interior. And so when we're thinking about this garden, when we're listening deeply to our community, we're noticing who's there, we're noticing the diversity of plants and the oasis that this garden provides in the heart of the city. We've been visited by a red hawk this year. Almost every time we're in the garden, this red hawk, I'll move my cursor over them, they're right here, comes and visits our garden and feels like a friend and a witness to our work. They recently shed their ruffly feathers and now have their beautiful red tail feathers in. And we also notice all the other bees other than the honeybees. So this tiny bee here in the mint, a tiny little fairy bee, there's such a diversity in our community, and we're so much stronger for it. And that's what we want to hold up in this garden space. And that's the way we want to govern this garden space as well. So this last set of photos, the one on the left is from circa 1999 and is of the lot. So I've lined up these two photos. So this is in the last 20 plus years, the work that has been done and the community that exists that is the community of the garden. This was Lincoln Clark's photo on the left, which was shared with me with permission. And the photo on the right is our photo from Hives for Humanity of our members gathering to think about how to bring art into our work and how to share the story of this garden so that all of you who might not be in the community can really feel what it's like to sit there under the tree with the hawk and to feel the value of this space and community. And what we're working to do is to bring this garden into a community land trust, which would mean that this garden would be brought off market into community-led governance by the folks who I've been sharing story with through this presentation on a model we've been developing called our Community Engagement Committee, where we are deeply listening to community and empowering their leadership all the way through our organization to our governance level. And that through that, we can hold this garden as a space of love and care in perpetuity alongside community with this long-term goal of thinking about how that leans and leads and might move us towards land back. And so in a practice of gifting and a practice of sharing myself and where I'm coming from, I want to share some poetry that I wrote that I also made into song and Jim recorded yesterday in the Hastings Folk Garden. So Amanda's going to drop those links. There's the lyrics to the poem or the song, and there's also a recording that Jim made where you can hear some of the background. The hawk is in the background, the people are there, and at one time, you know, people kind of chime in and sing along. So that is given to you as a gift, and thanks for being here and for your listening and presence. My ask is that you learn more about the Hastings Folk Garden, that you connect with us through some of these online and in-person spaces I'm offering on this slide, that we support in each other and invest in each other, and that we know that we're mycorrhizal, that we all impact each other, we can all support each other, we're all connected, much like the trees, you know, much like the bees, like this community that I've experienced in community capacity building. And I also want to acknowledge so many teachers, and I ran out of space on the slide, but I'm going to leave this here and just thank Laura and Vanessa and Yvonne. I'm also going to bring Adrienne Marie Brown and Belle Hooks into this space, women who I've been reading, people who I've been reading and carrying with me. And also Laurie and Leona, Sharon, Kate, Jim, Ali, Flo, Finn, and all the community at Hives for Humanity. So thank you all for your listening and your time.
Thank you. Hey, Sarah, can I ask you, is there a way that we could acknowledge you that you would feel good? And I'm going to ask this of all the speakers. Here's my last minute introduction or to the idea. What would you like, Sarah, to be acknowledged?
I like the sparkle fingers, please.
All right, sparkle fingers for Sarah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just want to really hold my hands up to you and everybody from our other cohorts that are here. And I know they would agree with me that the level of integrity around language and thinking and collaboration and your place in the system has been outstanding. And Amanda, I'm wondering if you could also put in the link for the Hives for Humanity ethics and research document and foldout that they have. For those of you that haven't been introduced to it yet, it's an important way to think about how artists and researchers work with the people who live in the downtown east side. Beautiful. Now let me get to Listra Sam. Listra is an entrepreneur. She's an actor, writer, traveler, longtime Blacktivist, and a disruptor of harmful systems whose work facilitates connection, healing, and joy. As a dream weaver, wanderer, storyteller, mentor, and mentee, Lystra is a co-founder of Community, a travel community that embraces culture and travel from a decolonized lens. The World When Black Workshop series, a Patreon in support of folks who want to learn how to practice being an ally. She's also working alongside justice and healing work with organizations who recognize that anti-racism is a lifelong journey. The long arc again. Lystra's presentation will introduce her most recent project, Sisters Leading Sisters, which invites Black and Indigenous, people of color, women to rest, dream, and rise in transformative gatherings, which facilitate healing, connection, and reimagining. Lystra, Sam, we're all yours.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, everyone all of the other presenters and the audience. Just really quickly, I'm just gonna really just light up some, I don't know if anyone in the audience, if you know what unsi is, it's really an African word for incense. And I have a ritual of burning unsi, which is loose incense and or sage that I get from my Indigenous cousins. And I burn that as a show of gratitude and to honor and call in the wholeheartedness of everyone in witness and the elders and my good ancestors. I call them in gratitude, and I thank them for their support. And so I am just gonna, I have this little dish here that I bought off of a street artist in Sweden about 8 years ago, and I use it to burn. So I'm just gonna light that, and I'm gonna burn that while, I don't know who, maybe Amanda or Seth are gonna push play and on my presentation. Thank you.
The journey.
How can I explain myself?
I am Lystra, daughter of Octavia, daughter of Rebecca, daughter of Iona. We are storytellers of the Kalinago Carib people. I am surnamed Sam, daughter of Gilbert, son of Walter, place of origin unknown. We are a stolen people. Daddy, why we can't save all the people? Sweetheart, you can't save all of the people, you know. You can't save everybody. But why, Daddy? Why? Walk with me to the past and imagine, if you can, an 8-year-old Lystra who has been living in a new land for about 3 years and doesn't have a sense of belonging here. There's something missing, perhaps something she forgot to unpack upon arrival. It would take her another 36 years of slowly unpacking to understand that she belongs everywhere and nowhere at all, that she actually belongs to herself. The price in getting there was high, and the reward was surely great. My journey to self is the birthplace of my presentation for you all today. Sisters Leading Sisters is an organization that came to me literally from the ancestors in a dream. Sisters Leading Sisters is an organization whose most essential tenet is Ubuntu, a Bantu phrase easiest translated as I am because we are. Our humanity is inextricably linked together, is what it's trying to tell us, as is our healing, our justice, our freedom, and our joy. Sisters Leading Sisters is building community through connection, collaboration, empowerment, and elevation. We're starting with Black and Indigenous women, and our table is built to expand. We've developed programs where we redistribute resources without barriers. Financial support, computers, educational tools, healing, scholarships, and more. And we will continue to implement initiatives as we reimagine together what is necessary for our radical emancipation from colonialism and imperialism as we smash the patriarchy. And we will rest. Deliberately and intentionally, we will reimagine rest as a tool of resistance, and we will gather together and retreat into rest. Try this ancient remedy. When you are tired, rest. Grant yourself rest, dear one. Uproot the cultural guilt in you that says you have to be doing something. It is killing us. Choose life. All living things rest. Be a living thing. We need your singular soul, not doing, just being. If you can learn to be at peace with your existence itself, nothing added, you can taste freedom, wellness, and purpose at their peak. So many modern day remedies for our exhaustion. One glaring, ancient, proven medicine. May you bless your tenderness, your stress, and your heaviness with rest. Sweet, old-fashioned rest. Close your eyes and imagine with me all the women across the world taking a collective nap, putting down all of our tools and wading in the nearest waterway, laying down our bodies and exhaling into a dreamscape for 1, 2, 3 afternoons. Imagine all of the industry, all of the consumption and production that would come to a halt. And imagine how our environment would respond to that halt. Now open your eyes. Breathe in. Breathe out. I'm inviting us all to take action by supporting the divine feminine in all of her power and transformational healing. When Black and Indigenous women at all of our intersections are free, then so shall everyone else be free, and that is undeniable. I invite you to join me as allies, co-conspirators, and accomplices in the spirit of Ubuntu. If my dad were here today, I would actually tell him that he was right. I can't save the world because the world doesn't need saving. But I can surely show up with my whole heart to my calling and let joy, rest, and love be my medicine and be present while she saves me. The ancestors called.
Just quickly, thank you all for watching. And I just have to, I'd like to say to you all that my ask is the very first retreat in this series is happening in mid-October. There's still about 10 spaces open if you'd like to register and join if you're a Black and or Indigenous woman or femme identifying. Also, if you cannot, for whatever reason, attend, I would love it if you would go to our page and donate so that we can continue to lower barriers for all of the people that are attending this event in the next, I guess, little bit over a month. Okay, and thank you all for watching. I have big wholehearted gratitude for you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And Listra, how can we acknowledge you? What would feel good to you today?
Just a big smile from everyone. I love the joy. Thanks, Vanessa.
You got it. You got it. Good work. Thank you, Listra. We're going to hear from Maria de la Cruz now. Maria de la Cruz is a systems change community developer with Collingwood Neighborhood House, a trauma-informed decolonizing anti-oppression certified executive coach, CPCC, certified professional coactive coach. That's what that stands for. All kinds of coaching. This girl's got all her qualifications. This person has all of their qualifications. And they're a facilitator, a peacemaking circle practitioner, and a founding member of the Fierce Filipinx Femmes Ancestral Circle on the unceded sacred ancestral homelands and territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Maria is a vice president of the board of directors for Women Against Violence Against Women, as well as her cooperative housing board. She also provides sliding scale or pro bono coaching and leadership empowerment to women, femmes, and youth in transition. If you could please open your hearts and ears for Maria de la Cruz.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Just one moment, and thank you. So, apologies. Oh, it's already in presenter view. Okay, my name is Maria de la Cruz, and I live, love, grieve, and work on the unceded, sacred, ancestral homelands and territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish First Nations. And I think it's important to acknowledge that these have been their homelands from time immemorial, and they are their homelands today. And so as we are settlers and settler immigrants like myself, like Yvonne said, we want to live and breathe reconciliation. And if we don't know what that is, it's our responsibility to find out what that is. Some of what that might be is to make the change that we want to make in community. And so this is where I am focusing my work. I'm really proud of the path that I have followed to come here because it's been hard professionally. However, the proudest part for me in that title is that the part about being anti-oppression and decolonizing, because that is the work that I am most focused on, is to consider what the impacts have been of colonization, patriarchy, capitalism, and white body supremacy have had on us, and how they truly have limited our capacity, especially for the Black, Indigenous, and racialized folks like myself, folks who have come from lands colonized for 500 years or more, which is the case for the land from which I am from. I was born on the territories of the Tagalog peoples in the archipelago of 7,000 beautiful islands called the Philippines, colonially called the Philippines, named by a king of Spain who never even came to visit. And the impacts of that are large, and that's a completely different talk. And so that is a little bit about me. There's a picture of me, yay. My path, my diasporic journey is a completely whole different other path. And yet I'm so well supported by the loving family and friends friends who have become family. And I am lost and found. You can see a picture there of my grandfather when I was little, where I was so held, where I believe honestly that I was the absolute happiest. And just in direct transition to go from the Philippines and suddenly find yourself in the cold of Canada has been a difficult journey. And these stories are what motivate me, the stories of how people came to be, how they came to this place, their relationship with the land, and how we build that relationship and strengthen it, as well as build and strengthen the relationships we have with the keepers of the land and the waters of this place. I'm so thankful to all of the instructors, to Shanti. Thank you so much for the community capacity building program, because it has encouraged me and actually literally built my capacity to do that which that I want to do, despite all of the impacts of being a diasporic child. Tagumpay is a word in Tagalog which means victory. And today I want to talk more about victory than I want to do about the harm that has come to me. And that is also what I want to do with the folks that will join me on my journey. So as I talk about oppression and colonization, I have felt personally the limiting power and energy in my family intergenerationally, and as well as in my ancestors, of what it's like to dwell, live, and try to thrive in a world not built for us, in a system not built for us. And so it's time to smash that system. One of the ways that we do that is to come together and see how we can work, we can move from inertia to urgency, apathy to anger, fear to hope, isolation to solidarity, and self-doubt to you can make a difference. And making a difference in the coaching that I have done, honestly, I've coached women with all different paths, from very, very successful financially, economically, professionally, as well as within their family. And it wasn't how much we had, it's never how much we have or how much we've done that makes a difference. What I notice is what makes someone feel truly alive in what they're doing is the active pursuit of doing what they want to do, whatever it is that they want to do. And especially if that includes changing a system not made for us, a system that must change, that must be dismantled, that must be disrupted, and to challenge all those voices that tell us otherwise, including the voices in our own heads. And so here we go. I also have ADHD, full disclosure, so my notes are not linear. They look like this. So I can't even follow like what I'm supposed to say next, except thank goodness for this presentation that is helping me. I intend and will set up a community of practice that includes the cohort members that will join me from my own cohort, as well as cohort 1, that is my invitation, as well as to support cohort 2 and cohort 3. And honestly, to simply capture the stories and share those stories of some of the time it is stories of loss, but mostly stories of success, to create a forum to identify solutions and how we address the challenges that we have, and then to collect and evaluate best practices and to celebrate our successes. That's what I want to do. And I want to have that community of practice be a safe space after cohorts for folks to come together and really talk about what keeps us alive. How are we in actively pursuit? What is it that we want to make change? And it can be the simplest thing. It can be simply changing the system within our own household so that we are empowering one another, so that we have more unity and harmony in the household. Or it can be as great as changing systems across the province in terms of policy and making more equitable spaces. This is my theory of change, which is if we convene to share stories about the strategies we use to impact and make change in the communities we serve, then our connection over our setbacks and triumphs will inspire us to leverage our strengths and widen our reach, because our unity will amplify our collective power exponentially to dismantle oppressive systems and build better systems. We've heard the saying in that old adage again and again, if you want to go somewhere, don't go alone. And certainly the CCB program has taught me that I'm not alone again and again, and reminded me, and sharing and listening and being in deep reflection and learning new tools to address old systems and old ways of being and old beliefs has made a change. And I want to continue to build on that change. If you want to go far, take someone with you. This is one of my very best friends. Her name is Michelle Wing. She is a registered clinical counselor and a registered social worker. She's also decolonizing. We only just met, and she and I honestly have our own little community of practice where we're constantly discussing how we're addressing we're addressing things, how we are engaging in our community as well as engaging in our family with our children. We have our own little tiny community of practice, and I know that you all guys all do too. So you understand what it is to have a community of practice. If you need a therapist, she's great. So don't go alone. And I'd also like to encourage people who are doing things, who are in active pursuit, to come and speak to us and tell us, like, how is this working? What are you doing? Sarah Kim is a disruptor. She is also a colleague and friend. She was very recently with the community development team and systems change with me at Collingwood Neighborhood House, but she has moved on and is now the manager of advocacy and engagement at Vancouver Foundation. And she's going to come to one of our community practice meetings and talk about systems change. And systems change is simply how do we work together to change the beliefs and the knowledge and grow the knowledge so that we can change the systems that we dwell in and to improve our community. And how do we do it from a systematic approach and not just a programmatic approach? And sorry, let's go on. Next, I'll be calling in Lacayo Estrella, and Lacayo is a dear friend of mine and colleague, and we met as we were going to decolonizing school. Lacayo is the very first person who told me about our transcestors and how trans folks were held as the most divine, and they were fluid. They could walk through community. They could wear the clothes that they wanted to wear. They could wear their hair long, short. They could wear long robes. They could lay with whomever it is that they wanted to lay with. And because they had so much influence and were so able to be fluid within the villages, they were considered divine. They were actually considered the closest to the divine. And when patriarchy came along and saw this, they sought to disrupt that power and not actually disrupt it, but destroy it. And we still see that today. And so those are one of the things that we're going to address together as we move through our community of practice. Next, Lister Sam. I don't really need to introduce her since she's already been introduced today, but she is a community convener and a magical being, as you know. And I'm so proud that she will be coming to speak about her active pursuit and what she is making change and how in the world. Another person is Jalay Lalejon, who is a spiritual ink ritualist who will talk about the activation and release with that intention in mind. We go on. Jyotika Chowdhury is someone who has reclaimed her name, and I'd like her to speak about that and to speak about being a child of diaspora here on these lands and how her name and how she powerfully reclaimed it has given her has made her voice stronger and encouraged others, so many others, to speak up and have our voices be heard as well. And never least and never last is Emerald Ascension. She was in cohort 1 of community capacity building. You know her and Desmond of Sorry, Sorry, Not Sorry, what they seek to do to change, to make cultural change and building a space that is honestly is indescribable for us to be able, for racialized folks, Black and Indigenous to come together and have like a solid space to work within and through, to sell our wares, to sell our services, and to just commune with one another is a fantastic thing. And so in between having folks come and speak are the lightning rounds. And that is when we will come together and talk about, you know, how we've been struck by lightning. No, I'm just kidding. It's how, you know, what is the light? Like, what are the sparks that are within us? And how do we grow that spark and make that energy grow? And so that, oh, my mouse isn't working.
Yeah, thank you, Maria. Good work. There we go. Maria, is that good?
Yes, I just have, my ask is that folks support us in providing, if they can and if they will and are able, funding support for those who seek to change and make impact in their community to do that work, and to invite my fellow cohort members and all the other cohort members to join us in building this community of practice together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. And thank you to the people that have gone beforehand. I know we've lost some of our people on their lunch break. I want to give my gratitude to those of you that are able to hear our next two presentations. I'm really excited to introduce to you now Fozia Bhatia, and Vicky Wang. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then you're going to see a supersonic project as well. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Maria, how can we acknowledge you? How would you like to be acknowledged?
With sound quickly, if people can.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry I went over. I couldn't see the clock at all, or didn't see the chat. I apologize for that.
Gotcha. All right. Fozia Bhatia is a community builder, a motivational speaker, and lifelong learner. She's a professional certified coach as well. And Fozia's ethic of service is deeply rooted in her faith as an Ismaili Muslim and grounded in relationship built on mutual respect. Fozia hopes to bring about connection, growth, possibility, and agency in her role as a coach in the community. She will be presenting alongside Vicky Wang, who is a dynamic community leader who loves food, learning, and friendship. Vicky's work supports peers at Kudos, a platform for people to find meaningful connections with fellow humans. Vicky creates opportunities for those in her community and currently leads a team of moderators and supports them in facilitating group exercises, group experiences. Vicky's an inspiration and a valuable co-producer in the launch of Curacao, which I'm going to tell you about. But I want to tell you something also that's unique about the CCB program is that Fozia and Vicky came in with a shared history of working collaboratively through Curacao, and we'll see this in our upcoming cohort as well with Jim and Kate. We had that with Sarah and Finn. And so what we're doing when we're thinking about community capacity building is also on the times when it feels right, fit, good mix, because our whole job to, like, when we did our first cohorts, we had 688 applications, people. Yeah. For this third cohort, we had more than 130. So what we've been trying to do is look at how are the people working, when are they working individually, when are they working collaboratively, and if there's been collaborative applications, what are the ones that we think, this would mean double, triple the exponential impact of having two from similar programs learning alongside of each other. What that means also for the other learners in the room to witness that kind of collaboration. These are some of the experiments that we're trying. And I hope that you'll see some of the fruits of our success when Vicky and Fozia present. They're collaborating on the launch of Curacao, which is a community of people with and without disabilities. Here you can connect at Curacao, you can connect with your fellow humans and what you love. You can discover new things about yourself, others, and the world around you. Curacao wants to build a world where we all matter and belong. Curacao builds on the strong foundation created by the Kudos community over the last 7 years, which celebrates reflection, growth, and transformative learning. Would you please welcome Fozia and Vicky?
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Just give me one moment to share my presentation. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Fozia, and I'm so grateful, first of all, for the Community Capacity Program and for all the connections that we have made and continue to make as we grow and we learn and unlearn and continue to celebrate and share the work that we're all doing in community. As Vanessa mentioned, I'm a coach with Curacao, and I'll be co-presenting today with Vicky, who leads our team of moderators at Curacao. We are so excited to introduce you all to Curacao, a community of people with and without disabilities. It is here that you can connect with your fellow humans and discover new things about yourself and others and the world around you. At Curacao, we are committed to co-creating a community where every human is valued and belongs. Now, over the past 18 months, COVID has changed our lives, as we all know. And initially, many of us were asking, we were waiting for this return to normalcy. But the more that we reflect on this, we now ask ourselves, I hope that you do, because I know I do, how do we not return to normal? So much has surfaced over the last 18 months. We've become wiser. And we now ask, how do we move towards meaningful inclusion rooted in equality? How do we build capacity to engage differently? And that is where Kiriko comes in. Kiriko is a tool that can be used by all of you, by organizations, by families and shared living providers, and community members with and without disabilities. In the same way that the Earth's galaxy, the Milky Way, is made up of millions and millions of stars, the Kiriko galaxy is made up of so many meaningful moments. And what is a moment? A moment of connection is an event or experience in our life where we feel a little more whole. When we think about a flourishing life is full of big and small moments of connection, whether it's to ourselves, to our bodies, to the people and places around us, to the land that we so fondly call on, to culture, to society. So that looks like everything from enjoying a moment of being in nature, to a moment of laughing with a stranger, to a moment of feeling seen and heard. So practically, what does this look like? Well, experiences introduce us to splendid people, to places and things to do. With Kiriko, you decide what you want to share or explore. So you may choose one-to-one experiences. You may choose group experiences or box experiences. There's also opportunities for coaching, which is dedicated time to explore your motivations and purpose, your fears and barriers. And you can go on experiences as well as host an experience based on your passion and interests. So from anime to zoology, all of us are curious. We're curious beings. We have a curiosity, we have hobbies, we have a fascination. We all have something to offer, even if we don't know it yet. So you can awake a hidden passion and share it with others. And as we all know, reciprocity makes life so much richer. So we will now share a video that's been inspired by some of Vicky's journey, and then you will get the chance to hear from Vicky herself.
Meet Vicky. She's really into cooking, K-pop, and finding her place in the world, whether it's school, work, or on YouTube. She found Kiriko and started booking experiences, mindfulness meditation, exploring Haida culture, and the physics of light. It wasn't long before she realized that she was a community member and could host experiences for others. So she offered up something she loves, making homemade French fries. That's how she met Sam. Like Vicky, Sam was trying to figure out how they fit on this planet. They'd never really gotten to know somebody with a disability before, on equal footing. Sam and Vicky found that connecting with different people as fellow humans opened up all sorts of moments. Awkward and silly, beautiful and meaningful. And what is a good life, if not a collection of these kinds of big and little moments? Kiriko. Find moments of connection.
I'm hoping that you could all hear that because there was sound with it. So I'm hoping that my sound did work. Please let me know if it didn't. You know, unfortunately, Vicky wasn't.
Meet Vicky. She's really into.
Vicky wasn't able to be here. You know, she really, really wanted to be here as a presenter, and she's very much a part of this presentation, but unfortunately something did come up for her today. But she's really wanted to share her story with all of you as well. And so just prior to us meeting today, we took a moment for her to record, in her own words, her journey with Kiriko and what it's meant. So I'm now going to play her story.
So hi guys, my name is Vicky. I'm the self-advocate and leader and moderator at Kiriko. Kiriko helped me to build more friendship and helped me to look speak up more to get on my shyness. I host a tie-dye experiment, and it is fun to see people to try out together. I have a dream to work on the team one day, and then one day the job opportunity came up, and I felt so happy when my dream finally came true. It helped me to build more dream. We build stuff together. It feels like my voice came out and got heard, and I feel really happy about that. With my leadership role at Kiriko, all the moderators count on me, so I am committed to help the moderator. We are like we are like a family, so some people feel nervous at first. I am there to help people feel more comfortable and join the community. The best part of my work is seeing the happy faces of people on experiment and being part of the team. Helping this job is helping my mom out, and that way I can help my family out. I feel very happy and proud of myself. It is important to let everyone have a chance, if you have disability or not. It's well, everyone is welcome. We want to hear and learn from each other, and we will looking forward to welcome you.
So as you can see, it's a very exciting time as we get ready to launch Kiriko. So whether you're in school or you're looking for work or you're just after some fun, whether you're curious or bored or looking to meet interesting people, Kiriko is a place to connect and contribute. So if you have a passion to share or you want to go on an experience, get in touch with us at hello@kiriko.ca. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fozia. How can we acknowledge you right now?
I would love for everyone to go off mute and say Kiriko.
All right. Kiriko!
Kiriko!
Jericho!
Oh, that's so great. I'm sorry that Vicky couldn't join us, but I thank you for the extra effort it took for you to bring her into the room with us this morning. And I just want to say to the people in our audience with us today, our friends, we had such a privilege to have so many people living with different kinds of abilities, and the kinds of conversations that were available when we on purpose chose really dynamic differences in the lived experiences of the people's bodies and minds and cultures and heritages and ages. Like, we put together what we thought would be a really dynamic and the kind of grouping of people where not everybody was the same. And what we learned together from each other was just remarkably rich, including myself in that. And so, Fozia, I want to thank you for your work on that. And I see Ricky Entz in the room with us as well. And yeah, I just really want to thank all the courageous people that said, this is how I understand best. These are the learning tools that would help me work better through this kind of thinking. And I want to raise my hands to Shanti and the team who really put in the budget accessibility and allowed us to have transcribers and really just put your money where your mouth is about what it means to create a space where all kinds of minds are welcomed. And so we learned collectively so much from each other. So we are so happy that you gave us your time, and we'd like to invite Yvonne to close us out and send us on our way. Thank you for 90 minutes of your beautiful life, people. And if you would please welcome Yvonne Rigsby-Jones.
Thank you. This time I would really like to thank each and every one who's been able to stay for the duration of the session. And ask you each to take a deep breath in and out. Once again, Creator, thank you for this day. Thank you for the kindness and the respect that was shown to each of the people that presented. Thank you for being in our hearts and guiding us. I ask you to be with everyone as they return to their families and their work. I ask that we each have a wonderful rest of the day. Thanks for being with us. All my relations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. You know how to find us. If you have curiosities you need to have satiated, you want to get in touch with the presenters, that will be those links right there in the chat will get us to you. And you know how to pick up the phone and find us. Please do. Welcome to all of our new CCB cohort. Thank you to our cohort 2 that just presented. Thank you, Yvonne, for the wishings for a good day. And here we go into the next rounds.